that Blues game? Was it a good performance?
I think it was a pretty quick review for us. I think we know there was a lot of inaccuracy first half, and there's a couple of individual things there that you can pick up around certain players, but by and large it was just bringing it together. And for the middle part of the game, just before and perhaps the 20 minutes or so after half time, it was pretty accomplished. But we know we can't sit and perform like that in the first half. Going towards this challenge this week. We've had a nice return recently, but we've got to up the ante against probably far more all-round side who could punish us for that inaccuracy.
The bookmakers are making you outsiders for this title. What do you feel about that?
So as it's been all year, really, we'll take it as it comes. We know, we're not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. We've never thought we have. With there's flaws in our game. We're raw, and we sometimes make mistakes not through effort, but sometimes other reasons. But we're fourth in the league. We've just got to fight to try and win a couple of games and see what happens. We're comfortable in our own skin, though. We've got our own confidence about what we do. Yes, we look at opposition that's coming up, but we're focused on if we can play to the levels we want to, we'll be more than competitive.
So, are you happy to be outsiders?
Doesn't bother us either way, really. We're on a nice little run, albeit, as I said, against sides that been in the lower reaches of the table. We know we've got to perform better to the standards we set, and I think if we match up to that, and I think the mindset is to certainly do that on Friday. We won't be far off getting results, and as I said, from there we'll take it as it comes.
When you think back to sort of August, September time, someone had said to you, 2 games left in the season, you win both of them, you've got a very good chance of getting a home semi-final. You'd have taken that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I guess we would have. I mean, we always felt we were building nicely last summer. Even in a couple of disappointing pre-season fixtures, I felt that if we could start the season well, we could get a bit of momentum around a good balance of the group with inexperience but some talented youngsters, and a balance to the side which is led well with obviously some world-class talent, but people who know what it takes to win rugby games. And I think that's carried us through with a couple of sticky patches we anticipated, but knowing that we could possibly get to this point and be happy with that, which we certainly are, but know that the characters we got, we won't settle for this now and say good seasons, Champions Cup ticked off, playoff place ticked off. We want to win the thing.
When it's kind of generally accepted, I think this season's Pro 12 was a step up in terms of competitive. It's probably the most competitive the league has been with the new qualification system for Europe, going right to the end of the season, not just the top 4, the top 6. Given that, do you think if you were to win it this season, it wouldn't possibly be the best, even looking at the other 4 you've won, given the nature of the league?
Yeah, possibly. I think every year around the pro game standards will go up and up, and obviously the evolution of the group. We've got a number of guys who have won leagues who come into this room, but also there's a young freshness about us. So I do want to see these players come into the mix and be challenging for silverware, and it's their moment then. We're building a new side, and we want them to flourish and achieve some success. But yeah, it does go hand in hand with probably a more competitive league. I think there's been more focus on the league this year. You see the side like Leinster have dropped off, but then around the competitiveness now, around positions 6, 7, 8 at the moment, really tight. We could be going to Connacht and they're playing for a European spot. That wouldn't happen in previous years. Edinburgh have been a breath of fresh air after a difficult start, and I think it does add to the mix of the league. So yeah, you say everything's going up.
In terms of availability, anybody missing from the Blues game or coming back into the equation for this one against Glasgow?
No, all relatively fresh. It's been, it's nice in a way you get the one off, one on, because I think it does, suit us in terms of the recovery of players who've had a lot of rugby this year, and we can really be specific in our prep for the next opponents. But this gives us healthy competition as well across certain positions, especially people being fit and fresh. But someone like Hassler is in the mix, albeit we've got a host of wingers who are performing pretty well at the moment as well.
Can Jeff be involved this weekend?
He could be. He's obviously, again, he's ticked a lot of boxes physically, but we've got a way up. People like Grabham, Eli, they've given us what we want in terms of being able to finish. We've seen across both games with Eli against Treviso, Grabs against the Blues, and also understanding where and how to contribute. But Jeff could be an asset also.
Griff, do you see your sort of difficult run against Glasgow as being a spurt of performance or a bit of a millstone?
I don't think it'll bother this group. I think the numbers do stack up against us the last couple of years. But I certainly think in the last 2 or 3 encounters, they're games we could and possibly should have won. I think prior to that, I remember the first season after we won the league, me and Steve looked at it, and I think Glasgow did outplay us. They were a little bit smarter, and they were adding a bit more to their game. But I do feel we've certainly caught up there, and we've got the right balance to our game. The away game, we were pretty smart in what we did, and we had a good little mix to some of our attacking game. So I think it's going to be one of those nights where we need ourselves to play obviously far better than we have over recent weeks. But if we play really well amongst what we're trying to do, I think we give ourselves a big opportunity to win. But I think we've got to make home advantage count as well, and hopefully a big crowd can come out and really support us in that, because it could be those little 1-2%ers do make a difference.
On that home advantage front, how much do you value your own record?
Yeah, it's been great. Traditionally the Liberty's been a stronghold, but it's gnawed at me the last couple of years. We have lost at home to Glasgow, we have lost at home to Ulster. This year we've been unbeaten thus far in the league. And we're adamant we want to continue that. To get a win on Friday, and that could be a little hub for us to go to Connacht then.
Would you hope that on the back there was a really healthy crowd for Judgment Day, some floating voters who came and look at it, don't go regularly, might be there on Friday, but it's a really big game for you?
Yeah, I really hope so. I thought it was a fantastic exercise of people pulling together, working, really well in terms of an attractive product. And I'd like to think we played our part there, albeit we were sticky for large periods first half, as we've noted. We are trying to play some good ball in hand rugby. Our die-hard fans, I think, have seen that evolve over the last 18 months. But if you're the casual supporter, please come in. Hopefully get a good night's entertainment, good atmosphere in the Liberty when the numbers add up, and as I said, hopefully support some winning rugby, because they could make a massive difference.
And it's interesting after that game to hear so many people saying, who's this new kid Ben Young, he made his debut 5 years ago. He did catch the eye playing the centre and on the wing. Just talk us through what we've seen him go through over the last couple of years. He hasn't had a huge amount of opportunities, but he seems to be certainly coming of age, I guess. Yeah,
I've known Ben for many years, and I was a big fan of his as an academy coach. Under 18 rugby really pushed him to come through our system and get opportunities contractually. I've had to live almost every injury he's had, and there's been a fair few of them in terms of a lot of minor ones, but a few serious ones along the way as well. But to be fair to him, he comes back in, he works damn hard at it. And I was probably the most frustrated injury was last January, because he was going to run in our games. He played the Scarlets back-to-back games. He played Castres in Europe, Leinster, Northampton. So we've had faith in Ben in terms of someone who can come through and be a physical presence for us in midfield. But it's been stunted by injuries. And then we were pretty comfortable early season with people who were in situ in that position. So he's had to bide his time. He's had to take on a couple of messages about what he needs to do training-wise. But he's done that by and large, and certainly seized a moment last weekend, and hopefully now we can flourish from there.
Do you see him very much as a centre moving forward, more so than a wing?
I do, yeah, primarily. Don't get me wrong, within the 23 and the composition of perhaps having 10, sometimes 9 backs within your matchday squad, having someone who can do the centre wing role is probably vital around coverage. We've seen that in the past with Hanno, but Ben primarily for me is a centre, and we've enjoyed his physical presence for a while, and he's starting to add to the range of how he plays as well.
With Glasgow, how do you assess them as a side?
I think their threats are obvious. Good players, really well coached to play a style of play that's got that confidence and swagger to it. They're not afraid, obviously, to move the ball, and with that, their turnover rate can be quite high. So you've got to try and see some opportunities there and shut them down, which perhaps again we didn't do defensively in aspects of our defensive play against the Blues, and I think they've got the guys who can perhaps take advantage there. But also a well-coached side structurally. They've made some real gains. I thought within 2-3 years ago their defensive and set-piece game came on a ton, and then Gregor keeps adding to it around the slickness of their attacking game. So they're a well-balanced side, and we've seen in our results against them that they're a tough nut to break defensively with Matt Taylor, but also they've got the flip side of the coin they'll play.
And the playoffs, if you were to win on Friday, is it a psychological boost? Because you would have got a scalp against one of your rivals in the top four.
I don't know, I think all those sides, notwithstanding our recent record against Glasgow, have got full respect for each other, and it does tend to come down to any given day. We're lucky enough to get some good results against Munster, Ulster this year. We've picked off results against those guys. We'd certainly like to do the same to Glasgow, but I think whatever happens, you can have a range of playoffs which any side could win on the day.
And the margins are going to be incredibly fine, aren't
they? Yeah, and I often say to our team, we play well, we win. I think that's what I'll often talk about, certainly with the backline players. I actually think you've got to play very well and win once you're going against the sides who are at the top of the league. As again, in comparison to the sides, we've just beaten the three bottom sides, so we know it changes a little bit this week.
I want to ask you about Jamie Roberts. He's obviously just gone to Harlequins. Was there ever any interest here in him, as far as you know?
We didn't push ourselves out there to speak to his representatives or him. As Steve acknowledged, he's a quality player, and I think if things were happening nationally, who knows? But we're comfortable with our resources there.
Gwyn Jones was on Scrum 5 yesterday, talking about Gatland's law and Jamie's move, suggesting that Jamie would still be in the team wherever he would have gone, and maybe that almost dilutes Gatland's law, and that it's one rule for one and one rule for another, for maybe the younger players who are told they need to stay in Wales. Do you think that he has a point there at all?
Yeah, possibly. It's interesting to see how the dynamic of Gat's squads will change over time post World Cup, and hopefully the national dual contracts can signify that players in Wales will be rewarded for being in Wales, and selection may match that accordingly. But you can't cut your nose off to spite your face. Jamie's a world-class player, and as I said, in Wales, even though we're building depth, you've still got to get your best players on the park.
And the idea is obviously the best players stay in Wales, and that helps the regions. Do you think that system is working at the moment?
Yeah, I think we'll see it over time. I think, as I said, there's a younger element to the national dual contracted players. We're seeing it around a couple of our players, may help some of our resources around depth to the squad. But you see it around perhaps protecting someone. For example, someone like Tyler Morgan's a huge talent. He can be looked after properly through the resource the union have got and the guidance he's getting expertly in the Dragons.
It's difficult, isn't it? You're looking at it from a coaching factor. You want to pick your best team, but on the other hand, you recognise there is a wider issue in terms of retaining players in Wales. So can you almost sympathise with the kind of dilemma that Cats faces here in terms of what decision to make?
Yeah, definitely. I think we're in the middle of a period where, perhaps contractually or otherwise, it's just about trying to build depth to the Welsh game. So suddenly, perhaps a pocket of 2 or 3 of your better players, being elsewhere, isn't a massive issue. As long as there's other players off standard who can come through to the Welsh game. Now, those players may be our own players developed, and we're pretty proud of that, but it also might mean more resource that we can bring in some quality imports.
You've got much work to do this summer on recruitment when you look at it. I mean, are you pretty settled? Would you expect to do much more business as it were?
Not loads, no. To be fair, we're always manoeuvring, always looking. We've got Andy Lloyd in the back of the room, who's doing a great job in terms of knowing the job descriptions that we look for from 1 to 15, and there's always a list of potentials there, but there's so many moving parts around where people are at contractually, and often it's about just preparing for 12-18 months time, and we're lucky enough to have a bit of vision about what we want to do there, and support from people above us as coaches who want to see us have a clear succession plan as well.
More analysis with your next season? Some suggestion maybe moving to another region? Any news on that?
Nothing definitive. I think he's been good for us, but injuries has taken this toll. So we'll see how things pan out for the next month.
Gruff, do you feel you'll need to hit the season's peak to beat Glasgow?
We'll have to play to the standards we've done in part in certain home games. Around the way we started the game against Munster. For large share the Ulster home games. Those big home games. Certainly in the league, we have pitched up, and I think we're going to have to be close to that. Around getting our set piece game right, and also trying to flourish with ball in hand. We've got a bit of excitement about what we're trying to do, but understand where and how Glasgow are a good defensive side as well. So we're going to have to be on our mettle.